Welcome to this video on decoding author attitude. Understanding an author's attitude is key to a deeper comprehension of any text. Author attitude, also known as tone, refers to the author's feeling or emotional stance toward the subject matter. Tone is discovered, not stated, and readers must act like investigators to uncover it. Tone is hidden in the details, so readers analyze the author's specific language choices rather than just the facts. The suspects in the investigation are diction, denotation and connotation, figurative language, and imagery and syntax. Each of these elements provides clues about how the author feels. By examining these details together, readers can determine how the author is coloring the facts and identify the tone of the text. Diction, or word choice, shapes tone even when the meaning stays the same. Both sentences describe the same action, but simple diction uses plain, everyday words that create a casual, relaxed tone. Elevated diction uses more formal and sophisticated language, which creates a more serious or respectful tone. The author's intentional word choice reveals how they feel about the subject, proving that tone comes from how something is said, not just what is said. There is a difference between denotation and connotation and how they affect tone. All three words, house, home, and shack, share the same denotation, meaning a place to live. However, their connotations are very different. House feels neutral, home carries a warm and positive feeling, and shack suggests neglect and negativity. Although the literal meaning stays the same, the emotional meaning changes, which directly shifts the tone of the text. Word choice can be placed on a feeling spectrum to help determine tone. Words with similar denotations can carry very different connotations, which place them as negative, neutral, or positive. For example, cheap suggests stinginess and has a negative connotation, while frugal is more neutral and simply means being careful with money. Thrifty carries a positive connotation, suggesting wisdom and responsibility. By mapping words along this spectrum, readers can identify how the author's choices reveal their attitude and accurately determine the tone. Figurative language acts as an emotional filter that reveals tone. Literal language simply states facts, such as, "It rained on her face," which describes an event. When an author uses figurative language, the comparison or image adds emotion and meaning beyond the fact. For example, describing rain as attacking gives the rain a violent quality, creating an aggressive tone, while saying, "The rain kissed her face," softens the image and creates a peaceful tone. The gap between the literal fact and the figurative description shows how the author feels. That emotional shift is where tone is revealed. Specific language clues help readers identify tone. It breaks tone analysis into clear parts. Diction focuses on the author's exact word choices, such as choosing myriad instead of a lot. That choice signals a more formal or serious attitude. Connotation looks at the emotional weight of words. For example, stench carries a negative feeling, while aroma carries a positive one. By examining these details, readers can determine whether the author feels respectful, critical, positive, or negative toward the subject. Next, two more key clues readers use to identify tone. Figurative language includes metaphors, similes, and irony that create images beyond the literal meaning. These comparisons act as a filter that shows how the author views the subject. For example, saying, "He fought like a lion," reveals admiration, rather than simply describing the action. Syntax and imagery focus on sentence structure and sensory details. Short, choppy sentences suggest urgency or tension, while longer, flowing sentences suggest calm or thoughtfulness. Together, these details help readers determine the author's attitude. Context can change the connotation of a word, and when the connotation changes, the tone of the text changes with it. The same word can feel positive, negative, or neutral, depending on the situation in which it is used. Readers must look at what is happening, who is speaking, and why the word is being used to understand how the author feels. Specific details work together to create tone, using the phrase "vacant eyes" as the anchor example. First, the simile "vacant eyes" compares the windows of the house to lifeless eyes. Eyes are typically associated with awareness and humanity, so describing them as vacant suggests emptiness and absence of life. This comparison immediately signals lifelessness, which pushes the tone in a dark direction. Next, the diction includes words like macabre, heavy, and silent. These words carry strong, negative connotations associated with death, decay, and horror. The author could have chosen neutral alternatives, but selecting these words intentionally builds discomfort and unease. The imagery reinforces this effect. Phrases such as cobwebs draped like macabre decorations and the air was heavy appeal to the senses and create a feeling of oppression, as if the space itself is pressing down on the reader. The silence feels unnatural rather than peaceful. When these elements are combined, simile, lifelessness, diction, death and decay, and imagery, oppression, they point to a clear conclusion about tone. The author's attitude toward the setting is eerie and foreboding, not simply descriptive. The image works as evidence that tone is constructed through details, not stated outright. Tone words are feeling words, and expanding your tone vocabulary helps you describe an author's attitude with precision. The chart organizes tone words into 4 broad emotional categories. Positive/light tone words, such as joyful, elated, optimistic, reverent, and benevolent, reflect approval, warmth, or admiration. These words are used when an author's attitude toward a subject is encouraging, respectful, or hopeful. Negative/dark tone words, including frustrated, hostile, belligerent, melancholy, and despondent, signal disapproval, anger, sadness, or despair. Authors often use darker diction, imagery, or figurative language to communicate these attitudes indirectly. The neutral/intellectual category contains words like objective, candid, detached, and inquisitive. These tones suggest that the author is analyzing or presenting information without strong emotional bias. The tone feels controlled, thoughtful, and fact-driven rather than emotional. Finally, humor/irony includes tone words such as sarcastic, satirical, witty, and cynical. These tones rely on contrast, exaggeration, or understatement to express criticism or commentary in a clever or indirect way. Overall, the visual emphasizes that tone is not just happy or sad. Strong readers select precise feeling words that match the author's attitude, allowing them to explain how language choices shape meaning rather than making vague claims. The READD strategy is a step-by-step method for identifying an author's tone by analyzing how language creates meaning. First, read aloud and listen for the emotion or music of the text. The way words sound together often hints at the author's attitude. Next, examine details by looking closely at imagery and figurative language that stand out or repeat. Then, analyze diction by focusing on word choice and connotations, deciding whether the language feels positive, negative, or neutral. After that, determine perspective by asking how the author views the subject: supportive, critical, amused, fearful, or detached. Finally, draw a conclusion by naming the tone using a precise feeling word. Together, these steps help readers move beyond guessing and use textual evidence to explain how tone is constructed. The key ideas for identifying tone in a clear, simple way. Tone is the author's attitude, not the reader's reaction. To describe tone accurately, readers should use feeling words, not topic words. The author's attitude is revealed through details such as diction, connotation, and figurative language. Finally, readers should decide whether those details suggest a positive, negative, or neutral perspective. When these steps are followed, the reader can confidently identify the tone. Case closed.